Amara Okoro arrived at the sprawling Lekki mansion just before sunrise. She had only a small bag and a heart full of determination. Her new boss, Mrs. Adana Cole, was one of Lagos's most talked-about socialites. Elegant, cold, and famously proud of her luxury lifestyle. From the moment Amara stepped into the marble-floored mansion, she was treated like dirt. Adana's sharp voice echoed, "Don't touch anything unless I tell you to. You're just the help, not a guest." Her son, Tiga, a spoiled rich kid just back from abroad, joined in the mockery. "Why do poor people always smell like rain?" he smirked. Amara said nothing, just smiled politely, and went back to mopping the floor. Every day, Adana found something to humiliate her about: her cheap shoes, her accent, her silence. But what no one knew was that Amara wasn't who she seemed. Every evening, after her chores, she went to the back garden, made a phone call, and spoke softly. "Yes, continue with the transfer papers. But make sure the Cole Mansion title is under Okoro Holdings before next week." Beneath the apron and humility, Amara was the hidden owner of the estate. She had bought it secretly through a property firm after Adana's husband fell into debt, but she had one reason to stay silent. She wanted to see how the people who once laughed at her would treat her when they thought she was powerless. And Adana was failing that test miserably. The humiliation reached its peak during Mrs. Cole's annual charity dinner. High-profile guests filled the mansion, music echoed, and laughter flowed like champagne. Amara was forced to serve drinks in front of everyone. Adana whispered to her guests, "This is why the poor should stay in their place. Look at her. She thinks wearing an apron makes her important." Tiga joined in, tripping Amara intentionally so that the drinks spilled on her dress. The guests laughed. "Clean it up." Adana snapped. Amara quietly bent down, picked up the tray, and said softly, "Yes, Ma." But as she turned away, a man in a gray suit entered the room. Barrister Ease, a respected property lawyer. He approached Amara, bowed slightly, and said, "Madam Okoro, the transfer papers are ready. Do you want me to announce the ownership tonight?" The entire hall went silent. Adana's smile froze. "Madam, what did he just call her?" one guest asked. Amara turned slowly, her voice calm but powerful. "Yes, announce it." The lawyer cleared his throat and said loudly, "As of this evening, the property known as Cole Manor is legally owned by Amara Okoro Holdings. All assets under this estate have been transferred accordingly." Gasps filled the room. Adana stumbled backward. "That's impossible. You're just a maid." Amara removed her apron and dropped it on the marble floor. "No, Mrs. Cole. I was your maid because I wanted to see who you truly were when you thought no one was watching." The hall erupted in whispers. Adana tried to speak, but her voice cracked. "You've deceived us." Amara smiled faintly. "No. You deceived yourself, thinking kindness was beneath you." By morning, Adana and her son had packed their bags, forced to leave the mansion they once boasted about. As they stood by the gate, Adana turned to Amara, tears in her eyes. "Pleased it was pride. I didn't know." Amara replied quietly, "That's what pride does, blinds you to humanity." She let them go, refusing revenge. Instead, she turned the mansion into a home for struggling single mothers, the very people Adana used to mock. A few months later, news channels praised the House of Hope, owned by philanthropist Amara Okoro, the mysterious woman who once worked as a maid in her own home. And every time Amara looked at the mansion's gate, she smiled softly. Because she had proved that true wealth isn't in the house you live in, but the heart that builds it.